welcome. My name's Campbell. This is Spiral Up. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And today we're joined by Beth Martens, and we're going to have a talk about sovereignty. And I've asked Beth because I know that she's been on this journey for the last sort of year or so. You've interviewed some pretty interesting people about
2 years. Yeah.
few years, yep, about sovereignty and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, we're going to have a chat about, personal sovereignty. What does it mean to be sovereign? There's more the mental aspects. We're not going to go into the law or anything like that. So welcome, Beth.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Thank you.
totally thrilled to be here.
Thank you for joining me. Yes. And I'll leave all Beth's links below. Go check out her channel. There's a couple of interviews with me on there as well. So make sure you go and have a watch, give a like, give a subscribe. Alrighty, so let's just jump into it. Sovereignty. Now, what does sovereignty mean to you, Beth? What have you learned over the last couple of years?
Oh, I love this question because to me, sovereignty is freedom. It's interesting with the word sovereignty. There's some play in there, but it's not necessary to get really trapped in words or I used to be like every day I'd go like, oh my God, they stole that word too. I can't use that one anymore. But kind of reclaiming it, like, no, what we can speak as you speak freely.
Mm,
And so I teach and coach about freedom, and it's actually a very big part of my process that, if you can't want freedom more than you want other things like, good relationship, a new home, or, whatever, solve your problems, then it puts a barrier between you and freedom in that wanting it, like wanting is a kind of bulldozer effect. It pushes away from you what you want,
mm.
right? Ironically.
Yeah, well, it does. When you state that you want something, you're also stating you don't have it.
This is it. You're affirming the lack. Exactly. You got it. So by flipping it and wanting freedom more, then freedom starts to pull you. And to me, freedom is synonymous with, I got so much to say about this, but freedom is synonymous with purpose, right? When you are actually acting within your God-given purpose, there is so much freedom in it. It's insane, right? The door just explodes open in terms of the possibilities, right? Compared to when you're trying to jockey with like, what are people going to think of me? And, who am I? Who should I be? Who do they want me to be?
Mm.
And you just come out as yourself, then that's a really, that's going to be your authentic self. And it's always going to be in alignment with what you're meant to do and who you're meant to be around. So that's a big aspect of freedom for me. And because I teach it, since the pandemic started, I started a coaching certification program. So I've been having to teach my methods of how I've been coaching for a long time with these methods, but I've never had to impart them to others so that they could go and do that, even professionally as coaches. And so I really have started to unpack this. What is freedom? And so what I would always know instinctively to do is never to define it for someone else, and that it is an ever evolving, whether it starts out as a concept or maybe a direct experience, that's the best. Because then it, there's nobody could talk you out of that.
Yep.
And what came full circle around for me too, because I've been trying to new age my work systematically, Nick, seeing the trap of that. And I was willing to actually give it all away if it turned out that it was all locked in that new agey sideways kind of thing. Then I was, so I put my work to the test. And then when it came to freedom, I was like, okay, well, how does this actually relate with you could say my values now are aligned. You could call it Christian, but it's more my Christian roots and the Bible, but certainly no Christian doctrine or church or organization, all of that stuff I want nothing to do with. And so my relationship to God has really, I always thought I had a very close relationship to God. I nearly died 20 years ago of a stage 4 lymphoma, and it was a very spiritual journey to recover against the odds. But when things went completely kerflooey in the world, then it was like all of a sudden there was nothing between me and God. It was just this, right? Because I couldn't trust anything, couldn't rely
Mm.
on anything. everything was a lie. The whole, you could see the agenda rolling. For some of us saw it. And so that was a real gift that there was nowhere else to turn but God. And so how I personally define freedom now is my relationship with God.
Nice. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense, because this is a thing when you were talking about jobs. I mean, jobs are so restrictive, aren't they? Like, I want to do this, but jobs are the buts, right? Like, it stops people. They want to do, chase their dreams, whatever, but they've got to pay the mortgage, but they've got to do this, but. But once this is the thing, freedom is about letting go a lot. I mean, pretty much, isn't it? It's about letting go to the attachments rather than trying to gain something more. I think you've sort of got to strip things off first, to find out who you really are, right? But get the layering off, get all that programming down, and then, because otherwise, any choice you make towards moving to freedom is going to be, with that layer, from that perspective, right, of the program, the system, the job, and that. And so until you get rid of that, you're not really, well, you can't really see freedom, I don't think. And we've all seen this. We talk to people who are in the system, and their freedom is going on a 2-week cruise, after 20 years of work or something. And so that has to be stripped right back, I think, before we can even start walking this path of freedom. It's a lot. It's a big, it's an introspective process, isn't it?
Yeah, you're nailing it. And it's the crux of all of my work, that it can be tempting to think that, oh, okay, I need to add peace. I need to add freedom. I need to add love. I need to add joy. I need to add health. I need, and it's what I've discovered is that when you let go of the things that are not you, like you said, all the programming, beliefs, ideologies that don't serve, bad habits, whatever it is, then thoughts, feelings especially, and the programs that hold them all in place, then you start to discover that everything is already installed so perfectly. Love is there, joy is there, freedom is there, right? It is our actual authentic nature. And so the whole freedom really is letting go. To me, there's nothing you could add.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to be free, to have this mindset, exactly. We've got to be in a place where we understand what freedom is, and anything that is from the system, from our past, is we know now that's not freedom. The last 2 years have told us this, that these are all things that the system says, oh, you can have that, we're going to give you that benefit or whatever. But when you get down to it, you understand that freedom is just it's a state of mind, right? We're already free. And so this is why what we're stripping back, I guess, is the not freeness, right? All this stuff that makes us believe we're not free. And then you get to a point where you go, oh, hang on, I actually am free. I could have just, done whatever I wanted whenever. And it's just ourselves and all this programming that's holding us back. So I think I just said the same thing I said before, but this is to know what freedom is. We need to be in a certain place, I think, to really see and understand what freedom is. And I think, like you mentioned before, that's what the last 2 years has done. It's sort of showed us how a lot of these things that we take for granted and that are, rights or whatever, we think they're freedoms, and that we're free, and that we live in free countries, right? I mean, especially the USA, right? The free, they were they've landed the free 2 years ago, and now look at it, right? So yeah.
Canada. Oh man, we thought we had the jackpot here.
Canada.
Right. Yeah, same in Australia, that we just
Yeah.
thought we were the luckiest ones. So we got the good one, and nothing bad was ever going to happen here, and we're just sitting ducks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the other thing is, I guess, if you believe you've got freedom when you don't, if you've got a false freedom, then you're much more of a slave, aren't you? Because, like you said, we were just sitting ducks. We weren't ready for any of this. 90%, they're still in shock of what's going on. And so that perceived freedom actually makes you a slave.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The up is down, calling everything, that sickness is health and slavery is freedom. And yeah, so yeah, as the world kind of crumbles around us and we're going to lose things, Now, hopefully, and this is something I want to talk about too, is like hopefully people are going to rally enough to create the civilization that's falling to start to meet our own needs. And that is freedom. Like I have to use this example. I just came from my garden. I literally ripped myself away from my garden. I was thinking like, oh, can I do the interview here in the garden? But I wasn't really set up. And it's just exploding in growth right now. We're having a pretty good year, even though it started really late. But I'm getting almost nothing from the grocery store right now. I've got a food group, I've got a milk group, I've got my own garden. I'm about to inhabit a farm part-time. I've been working on a farm, and I managed to. I won't say any details about it, just to kind of protect the situation, but
Nice.
so the freedom of that, just like sitting in, I was 20 minutes ago, I'm sitting in this beautiful garden, like right on the ground. I wood chipped the whole thing so it's not muddy. I could sit there, the sun's shining on my face. I picked chamomile flowers. I think I brought them to show you. Like this
Nice.
beautiful harvest of chamomile.
So that's going to be
And
tea.
it's going to be tea. Yeah, dry them out, and I was eating them as like exploding in chamomile in my senses. Really nice.
Nice.
And to me, like there's freedom right there. I look around, if I'm hungry, I just eat something, and it came from me and my effort and God's favor of the effort that I made. So just that independence that in a way I've always had. I feel, if you can have more freedom, that's a wrong way to say it, because freedom, yeah, you're free or you're not. But say like I'm born and raised to entrepreneurs who my dad almost had a nervous breakdown working for other people. So he started his own business, and I always worked in their business, and it gave me a lot of freedom. I could come in and, feel like I'm helping out, but also to create income, and I could take trips, and I could, do things for myself that I wanted to do. And then I wanted to be the same. I wanted to, after surviving cancer, there's no way I'm going to go get a job and not back in the business corporate world for sure. And so I've always created a life work for myself. I consider it to be much more that than a living. I could have done things for a lot more money, like a lot. And because I was professional in communications and public relations and marketing and all that kind of thing. There's lots of fancy jobs that I could have possibly had there. But the enormous freedom of just following my heart and, this is what I want to offer right now. And so I do, and just put myself out there and see if anybody comes. And they did. And so, 20 years later, when the pandemic hits, no one shows up to tell me what to do. They don't say what I should wear on my face. They don't say what I should put in my body. They don't tell me where to stand. I have a certain amount of sovereignty already. I vet my clients and people in my courses so that I know who they are, that there's a good match between us. So we're kind of family-like already. And then, here I am. Still, nobody tells me what to do unless I try to cross a border or, maneuver in public.
Mm. Yeah, this is the thing. When you were talking about food, I was just thinking, there's obviously all this talk at the moment about, food and the lack of it, maybe. And a lot of people are getting stressed out. But again, it's just a choice to go out and start your own garden, and then take that, because that's freedom, right? Then you've got food freedom. So freedom is it's the choices we make, right? Obviously, right? Everything is the choices we make, but we can view that as I'm a slave. Oh my God, look at the system. Oh my God, they're not going to feed me. Or we can go, awesome. Now I can go and learn how to grow properly. I can do this. And when you do that, you'll find out, I've been seeing a few videos. There's so much more edible plants out there and food than we go to the supermarket and we see this selection of, 20, 30, maybe 50 sort of different types of fruit and veg. There's thousands out there, and most of them are growing in people's gardens, and we don't know. And because we haven't got that knowledge, we don't have that freedom of, of food, right? So, what are your thoughts on knowledge and freedom? Like, what's the link there?
Well, everything that you can experience, including your thoughts and, taking in and processing knowledge, is a door to freedom. This is something I finally, okay, God, why all these, why all the pain, why all the torturous experiences? The good experiences have a certain torture in them because they come to an end and you want it again. And so I'm like, okay, why, God, did you create this whole emotional realm and spiritual realm and physical realm? And what I heard and learned and see is true for every day of my life after is that it all is a kind of portal to freedom, which sounds new agey. But if you allow yourself to go through the experience, the thought, use the knowledge with the intention of freedom, then that's where you're going to end up, right? That's your all of that, whether it's everything from knowledge to emotions and programs, they are all just energy in a pattern. And so if the energy is in a pattern unconsciously, which means it's driven from fear, then it's going to create a painful door to go through. Right. And if you're conscious of the energy and you're using it more as that co-creator and you're aware of what you're doing and you have that maybe conscious intention for freedom, then the high experiences are still a door. They're not the goal. This is something I feel a little bit on a bandwagon about, to let people know, like, it's so tempting to think, oh, we're just looking to be in a high state all the time and that's freedom. But it's not actually. It is a better place to take off from. Like, and actually more accurate way to say that is that when you're in high energy, it's way easier to let go of low energy.
Yes.
Right. So if you're up in joy and you have the wherewithal that you're really about freedom, or you're really, that's what you're working on, then from that joy, you can go and get some of the, sadness and fear and even lower apathy, anger, and have it not consume you, but rather you even you could turn it around, you consume it, because it's energy, right? Rather than holding it away from yourself, you're taking it in like food. And like digestion, just using this metaphor, like digestion, transmuting it into what I call free energy. And I know that the phrase goes around a lot, but this is my definition of it, that as soon as you're not using your life force to suppress your experiences that are a door, you let them come up, you let yourself go through whatever it is, which can be hellish, like, honestly, the biggest demons are met within, for sure. Then you discover that, it in fact, it's an illusion, that there's something wrong there. It's just tied up energy. It's saying like, hey, I need an outlet. I need I need to be free. I need to move, actually, is the most accurate way to say that. I just need to move. And then freedom is an instantaneous experience from that, like infallible. As long as somebody's brave enough to let go, then freedom's right there.
Yeah. I mean, this is lessons, right? Like, I was just thinking that, I mean, you were just sort of speaking about it in a different term, but literally physical experiences, when you meet someone that annoys you or whatever, and we have the choice to act or react and to do that in certain ways, and we can block that. And there's a saying, right? If you keep blocking stuff, you'll get hit by a hammer, then you'll hit a brick wall, and then if you keep annoying it, a Mac truck will come and take you out. It just gets bigger and bigger. But if you accept that in and learn, that's the learning process, right? Then you come out the other end freer, and in that process, you learn that you are free, right? It's like with the whole thing on your face. We had those in Perth for a while, and I never wore one, so I was walking around these shopping centers, just the only person without one, and that was a bit weird at the start. But by the end of it, it made me realize, well, clearly no one can help, no one has. I mean, I knew it already, but you start to live that no one can tell me to do things I don't want to do. And so you understand, like, through acting in freedom, you understand that you have that freedom. It's kind of a bit of a dichotomy, isn't it? But you have to go through the process. And I was going to say before, what do you think trust plays? Like, I think we need to have a bit of trust as well to sort of walk this path. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I love this subject. Lots to say on trust. It's a aspect of the child archetype. So that's one thing to know about it, that the shadow child wants to trust, desperately wants to trust, and wants to have something to, be able to fall back on. So that's, of course, the metaphor being that you say the parents, the child grows up with this, sometimes the illusion that the parents have their back. It's, often true at some level. And they'll have to grow into that fact that, it comes down to them. And so we tend to want it, go through the whole adulthood and continue to want to trust. So whether it's, say, your partner you want to trust, or it's your, maybe your boss you want to trust, or the government you want to trust, or the monetary system, or, something inanimate or inanimate. We're always looking for this way to trust. And to me, trust is something that is only appropriate in one place. And that is God, freedom itself. This can be trusted. I always trust God, but I don't trust people, but neither do I mistrust them.
Yeah.
So this is where you start to get into this, more dualistic kind of way to look at it, that there's one or the other. Either I put all my trust in you and I set it up so that I'm going to be betrayed. And that is, again, the major shadow experience of the child. Or I, withhold trust and I'm suspicious and I'm always doing this, looking over my shoulder. And then I pull in experiences, same thing, betrayed, right? I'm going to pull in those experiences. And I wrote about this in my book, that you in fact must be betrayed. We have to go through that experience in order to see that it has no power over us. It's not to be feared at all. And then to put the faith in God, to say, okay, I trust God to, God takes care of the sparrows, and why is he not going to take care of me?
Yeah. It's like being in the world, but not of the world. We don't have to be so attached to everything, do we? This whole attachment, and again, an attachment, right? That's what freedom is getting rid of all this attachment. But like you said, when you get into it, ultimately, what is freedom? And I guess that's the creator. And again, when we sort of talk about, God's word and God's way, it's not words in a Bible written by, a man. It's what we are, right? It's all inside. It's really just living out what makes us see. Freedom feels good, right? And freedom isn't Braveheart, right? Running around taking out the English army. It's not all these things that we've been given. Freedom is just living your life without restriction. It's when you want to do something, you do it, obviously, as long as you do no harm. But it doesn't have to be this big, massive thing, does it? A lot of people want to run around and cry freedom, but all they're really doing is saying, I'm so oppressed, because when they're crying freedom, right, they're saying that has to go away for me to be free. That's why I'm yelling. So again, we're back in that dichotomy, aren't we, of this whole, we've been taught that freedom is this act of overthrowing bad, the whole good against bad, when really it's to me, it's understanding that doesn't have an effect on you. It just is. And you talked about thoughts before. What I say is, everything should be interesting. No, it's just interesting. It should never be right or wrong, because like you said, when it's right or wrong, you're just putting yourself in a box. When it's interesting, it can be anything, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you have an open mind. Right and wrong is a very interesting one that has been so severely abused in the New Age as well. And, so they've manipulated us into thinking certain things were not right or wrong, say pedophilia, for example, that some people would go, oh, well, now the thing is, oh, well, if the child agrees, then it's okay. Right. But if that was your child, you would just have no doubt. I mean, even if it's not your child, and you're, a decent person who has that sense of right and wrong, then you're going to know it's wrong under all circumstances. Nothing could make that right. And so that's actually the lover archetype that has a really strong moral sense, or has a potential for moral sense. And but I think what you're describing is something different. It's the scope that wouldn't be there when you come in and, make conclusions and and judgments. Like you're talking about more of the curiosity, the interesting, which I can very much relate to, having evolved myself from a place of, if somebody came into my world and had opposing views, especially in my first like days of being a new Christian or whatever you call it, um, it'd be like, oh, Satanist, oh, Satanist, be pointing my fingers at people
Yeah.
like this and like, oh, New Age and blah, blah. But I realized, like, honestly, that's a road to hell. I was just going to alienate all of the best people in my life who innocently are, maybe went astray or whatever. Who am I to say that they did? And but coming to this place of being more interested than I am, trying to, I don't even know, like, not that I would sway them, but make any decision about them, and maintaining that interest. It's so expansive because it means that the good that person does have can still come through, even if I don't agree with everything that they're saying. Everybody has something to offer if they have, done any work on themselves in their life. And so it's, thanks to a woman in my life, Jackoline Milne. She really taught me that in the last couple of years, watching her navigate in such a graceful way, even though she has extremely strong convictions, like no wishy-washy at all, but can make space and be interested in everybody's perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have to get offended. This is the thing. And that just sort of shuts us down. But I was just thinking when you were talking that, like, freedom, again, like we're taught that freedom, really, when you think about it, all these concepts we're taught about freedom, they're all changing the world outside of us, right? We have to stop this to be free. We have to change that to be free. If only this was different, I'd be free. But really, freedom is not needing, to change anything, really, isn't it? Like it's understanding that everyone has the choice to do what they want because you do. And this is another thing I mentioned a bit is, if you want to be free, then you have to allow everyone to be free, because as soon as you tell someone what to do, then what you're saying to the universe is, well, people can tell me what to do, and clearly that's not freedom. So there's this, this whole rule of, I think, a lot of people get stuck in, oh, but it's got to be my way, and this this has to change, and blah blah blah, and they need to change. But that's all outside, and we know we cannot change the outside world. We can affect it, sure, but we can't, make a green car turn into a purple motorbike, right? We just, at the moment, we're not doing that. But we can change ourselves, and knowing that, again, right, is a freedom, right? Because if you think that it's the outside world, then you're a slave. If you understand it's this it's this big sort of like wishy-washy sort of dichotomy, kind of convoluted infinity sign, really, this concept of freedom, isn't it? Because you've got to go through it to understand what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, I love what you're talking about. And to me, the most exciting thing is this free will, and how do we work with it? And we don't have any problems that aren't related to someone, whether it's an entity, the government, your husband, your whatever, right? And the closer they are to you, the more tempting it is to try to change them so that you can be free.
Yeah.
And because I can really live and let live, but say it comes to my son or my son's dad, or people that directly affect my genetic line, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, step aside, I'm going to engineer all you guys into better state here. And then if you've tried to do that, it doesn't work. It's an experiment that gets the same results every time. You get nothing but resistance and pushback. And so here's a little bit of, I don't know if the irony is the right word, but it's when you resolve to take responsibility for the whole situation. Okay, I'm seeing something in my son that I don't like. I'm going to actually find the part of myself that is offended by that, that connects with that in a, energy losing way. I'm going to take it out and not leave him be. I'm still his parent, of course, but not try to change and manipulate him, even though I think it's for his good or whatever. That's all fear-based. All I'm doing is infecting him with fear.
Mm,
And so this is where I actually have a new slogan for the project that I've just launched, and it's where mastery meets miracles.
nice.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing that when you do master your own inner life and you learn to let go of your shit, then your influence on the world around you is very profound. So I've had people in a adversarial situation say, I think it's safe enough to talk about my son's dad. So, opposite ends of the poison injection theme,
Yeah.
and saying, oh, our 15-year-old can just go and get that by himself. And like, over my dead body, Mama Bear comes out ready to kill everybody to save them.
Yeah.
And so once again, I know this from a lot of experience, especially in this relationship, that I needed to go do my work. So I did. I let go of all of my fears about that injection and what could happen to my son, and the breakup of the relationship with my son's dad that had been very good. We had got to a good place, but now all of a sudden it's a high conflict. I never want to see you again. You're not allowed in my house, and all of this kind of stuff, right? And so, but after doing the inner work, complete turnaround, complete turnaround. I didn't tell him any. I didn't say anything. He never brings up poison injections again. My son resolved that he didn't. He kind of woke up over these last 2 years too, and got courageous in his disposition. And then, so just as an example, we just like, he lent me his truck to go camping, and he gave me the keys to his house to look after his cats after. And we're actually cooperating in this parenting thing again, and it's actually a miracle.
Wow.
It's a complete transformation.
Mm.
But I couldn't do it to him.
Yeah. All change has to come from within, right? And all of our experiences are reflected by our thoughts. Sorry, you go. Did you have something to say? You were trying to jump in there.
Sorry about that. I
Sorry.
actually, just for my sirens, shall I close my door
Oh
for the
yeah.
noise?
I can't hear anything, but yeah, if you want to, no
Oh,
worries.
you can't hear? Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
just let me know.
no worries.
Okay.
Um, what were we saying? Gosh. Um, freedom, trust. Oh, let's go somewhere else. So, all right.
Affecting other people.
So yeah, I was just going to say. So, I mean, freedom, is sovereignty, really. Obviously, reign, but it's just a word, right? We're allowed to reign as well. Um, so, what would you your advice be to someone who wants to start this journey and become a bit more sovereign, who's sort of heard of these concepts but still has this doesn't really understand what freedom is? I think that's one of the biggest things, right? Is just trying to let people understand what it is, and ultimately that the biggest thing is they actually have the freedom to choose, right? How do you think people? What are your thoughts on that? How a good way to get started in this journey?
So the entry point, because we're in the land of free will here, has to be that person's life. And, it's usually the thing that they're bumping up against that they can't get past. Maybe they're holding their head at night, wondering why this keeps on being like it is. I have one situation with cats like that. I haven't solved that one yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so it will come from them once they have, this is the first step. Once they've decided that they want to see a change in their life, and or they want to evolve and expand, and do more in alignment with what they feel is pushing up in them, then that's ripe, right? Like that's a ripeness for the work that I do. And then it's a matter of what we've been talking about, looking at, okay, what are the stuck points? How do they point to patterns that already exist in nature that I call archetypes? How precise can you be about where the stuckness is? For example, when I was dying of cancer and I started to look at the archetypes after 3 years of nothing working and I'm still dying, and they're trying to throw a stem cell transplant at me, and half the people died doing that. So it was like not a really good turnout, and I was highly motivated to find, okay, why am I still a dying person? I've done all the best things for myself. Changed my diet, took great medicine, took care of myself, did counseling, all of the best things that I knew to do, I was doing, but here I was still losing my life. And I was able to pinpoint one archetype that was so out of alignment for me that it was literally pulling the life away from me. And so as soon as I was able to see the pattern inside myself, then I could go to work in that arena to discharge that shadow energy. And like we were talking about, once you start to let go, immediately when you start to let go, because I'm still letting go. That was the rebel archetype, by the way, just in case you're wondering which one that was. That
Rebel.
Yeah,
Rebel can't
exactly.
be bad for you, can it?
Oh, there is a big shadow with a rebel, like every archetype. Yeah, I can go into detail about that. And it's so once I was able to see, I knew exactly what I was working on. I saw my work, and it was very quick after that, so that I actually went from being a dying person to a living person practically overnight.
Wow.
Like insane. I saw it, I took it out, or reclaimed that energy, awakened it, moved it. I don't even know exactly what is the accurate description of it, other than it works. And so, yeah, it's to be brave enough to say, hey, I love my wife, and I don't want this marriage to end. And I can't see what's wrong, but I'm going to go and I'm going to find inside myself what it is that's cooperating with the death of this thing that I love, and do that brave work of meeting myself in the the corners and the dungeons, and that dark where there's all the pain stored and everything like that. And the beauty is that in the short, because it's not about torture, it's not about going to immerse yourself in your bad inner world. It's to go through it, and then the speed of healing can be, again, miraculous, because you're just simply not you're not avoiding the door anymore. You're not avoiding your energy. You're not using your life force to suppress that which you have been given, right? It's not a mistake that we've been given these bodies and all these feelings and thoughts and all of that kind of thing. And so receiving the gift of that and the energy, the moment you begin, you start to pop up exponentially. It's not even a slow gradual. As you let go, and poof, the lights go on. You see in Technicolor, you see your situation with clarity, where before it was like a fog, right? That's a big thing. We never know how freedom is going to look.
Yeah.
Until you're in that moment. And are you running a program in the moment, or are you going to let your fear go and be present with what actually is? And maybe freedom does look like taking up arms, or maybe freedom does look like just being off away in our own assemblies and societies, or you don't know in every moment what it's going to call for in that respect. So yeah, the if there's any advice, it would be to just see, are you brave enough to make a shift, and not just so you can have a good life, but so that you can be purposefully engaged in your role in humanity.
Yeah, well, nicely said. And I mean, this is the thing, when we, get real with ourselves. I mean, that's just so freeing, right? Because, as we've said before, we're the only ones that can change ourselves anyway. So, one of the most freeing, beliefs, I guess, or thoughts is knowing that it's us, right? Once you drop everything else, and that's all, and that's blame as well, isn't it? It's always their fault. Oh my God, it's their fault. But it's like, who was it? Dr. I've forgotten his name now. Basically he said, there's 7 billion people in the world. So, if you want to change the world, you got to go to change 7 billion people. Much easier to just look in the mirror and change yourself. Wayne Dwyer.
Wayne.
Yeah. So this is the thing about, I think, with freedom, it's really just this coming to this conclusion that we're already free, and then just starting to take those steps, right? And like you said, we're never going to know what freedom looks like. So building up these massive plans of it has to be like this is just again, that's not freedom, because there's no freedom of movement in that. Fixed positions don't have freedom in them, do they? You know, there's no freedom in a square. It can't turn into a circle, if you know what I mean. So it's better, I think, to have dreams and visions of where you want to be, but they don't have to be these specific things. And because you're never going to know the path, that's all in the moment. And that's all having that perspective of you're free to choose at every moment, trusting and knowing that you'll always make the right decisions. And I think, yeah, that might be a good way to start a journey to freedom. But it's definitely an internal thing. It's definitely, you know, freedom is you know, it's like life, right? Life's an inner job. You know, we just can't change the outside world, and the biggest freedom is understanding that.
Yeah, really well said. I love that.
Thank you. How are we going to have time?
Guy shows up.
Hello, Kitty. Yeah, she's made her appearance in every video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't be left out.
Yeah. Mr. Ocean is my celebrity cat.
Mr. Ocean, did you say?
Yeah.
What a cool name. Nice. All right. All right. Yeah, well, there we go, guys. Freedom. Have you got any last thoughts, any last bits of wisdom you would like to leave with our viewers?
Yes, if it's okay, I'd love to share about the new private membership association that I'm
Yes.
just in the process of creating. And it's totally in alignment with freedom, because this is something that the private domain, it's very hidden from people, even though it's like a fish in water. You don't, you know, we're going like, where's the water? Where's the water? But it's right here. Same theme. Freedom is, we just have to act like we are free. And part of acting like we're free, what you were just saying about self-responsibility, that you have to own it. You're like, okay, I'm a grown-up. I can take care not just of myself, because unfortunately we won't be able to. No one individual is going to survive this. But as we get together and start to assemble ourselves into our own households, is the most beautiful theme and symbol for this free private domain. Because, you know, in your household, you do what you want. You know, you all your functions of life take place. It's your own personal decision. The police cannot show up and just enter your house without some kind of probable cause and a warrant, and, you know, a real thing. But we've forgotten, and we're just like, come on in, come and micromanage my life, my children, my health, my everything, right? And so this is in response to that. Now, you know, PMAs have been around a long time. They are a lawful designation. Right to this moment, you know, elites tend to use this as a way to hide money and corruption and do wrongs. But traditionally, it was about meeting the people's needs and giving yourself permission to be with your family, who is not just your, you know, blood mother and brother and sister. It's those of like mind. Like I would consider you in kin, right? We have similar views, similar values, and they're, you know, it's an easy energy. I could sit and have tea with you and have you in my living room and feel no tension about that.
Yeah.
So then the private membership association, it is by application only. So that's part of my integrity, not to just say like, oh, here's a link, sign up, and have it be just anybody in their screen names. So it's, you know, it's going to grow slowly, and you know, looking in detail at every application. I'm not turning people away, except if they won't give me their real name. This is something that, or you just sound like you're, you know, like off some bot or something like that. Then but people who love freedom, people who are self-responsible, people who are looking for some kind of way to be related to people so that they can engage in this healing work that we're talking about.
Nice.
To, you know, yeah, whether it's to do the work for themselves, to train, to help others do it. I have a coaching certification program. I'm about to run my 4th round of it now, starting in September. If you don't mind, if I let your audience know.
Yeah, no. All links will be below, guys.
Okay, fantastic. I'll share one for that. And then if you keep in, if anyone hearing this is interested in training to help others to deprogram, to read archetypes, to find in themselves what is making their life show up in the way they don't want, to and be able to come out with a kind of profession around it as a coach, professional coach, then if you sign up before July 31st, then there's an early bird on, just so people know, in case the timing is of an issue or a interest, I should say.
Cool.
And yeah, sorry.
So you actually, with your freedom private membership, that actually goes into like some of the legal stuff as well, like PMAs and how we can actually start detaching from the system, does it?
I don't teach PMAs, but I highly recommend Jackoline Milne at the Four Cornered Table.
Okay.
And she's the one that I'm learning PMAs from. She's the one that I'm certifying, or not certifying, pardon me. She's certified, and I've got my foundation documents through her.
Okay.
So there is now the documents don't actually create the legal entity. That's public. It's the assembly that makes it valid, or what's the word? Real. So
Okay.
yeah, it's that.
The way everything's associated, because a PMA basically detaches us, the man or woman, from the human, like the person, the fictional entity in business. Is that right?
No, it doesn't. And that to me is a myth that
Okay.
that's even desirable. In nature, you find the two archetypes, the public and the private. It's the predator and the prey. It's also the masculine and the feminine, highly archetypal in its nature. I think I mentioned that a little bit in one of our talks. And so where was I going with that? You don't have to give up any public designation. So we do have a person, we have an account that we can move freely in the world, in the public world, and do our business. And, if we want to engage with that, you have to know how to control your person, but there's no need to get rid of it. That would be, it's a kind of suicide.
Yeah, you need to be able to interact with business, and that's what a person does, right?
Yes, but a PMA can interact with businesses. So that doesn't, you don't need that person.
Okay.
Right. But say you want to drive a car and not get pulled over every 10 minutes because you don't have plates and a license, right? So maybe you just want to freely move about and yeah, right. Like that's not a hill I want to die on every day myself. And it's not that important to me. And so I'm willing to cooperate with the system, and I don't mind having insurance so that if something really went wrong, then I'm covered with that. I want to be able to move freely in the public and the private. Right. That's the birthright. That's what we have our full ability to do. So yeah, I think it is definitely a psyop to get people to try to cancel out their public person. Now, the Bible says that God is a despiser of persons. And again, it's been psyoped to, this is legal fiction. This is this like big trust account. There's all this money, and you should want that money and reclaim that security. To me, absolutely sideways. I really see through it now. And but what the
So I mean, that's not freedom, is it? I mean, that's again relying on someone else to take care of you.
Totally. I know. Can't you see through that? Right? Like you think, because you're going to be more controlled than ever. If you say you become a state national, you're more public than ever. And so this is, the private domain, it's really truly being hidden from us. They don't want us to see it. They know it is our safe haven. It's completely biblical. The Bible recommends going into the private domain in all kinds of ways, tells us how to operate within that, how to serve each other's needs. And then it's this like, yeah, I am free and I can do what I want and have interactions that I want and have exchanges that I want that no one can come and interfere with in any lawful way. Now, there might be for some of us, I'll say pioneers, but it's not new, but some of us, now that are coming to this, we might get taken to task. Like someone might come and say, oh, Beth Martens is doing business and not this and not that. And, so I may end up in court over it, which is why I also like to keep my hand in court procedure. And so I run, a court procedure group, and I have the whole law side of by the way, my PMA, it's called the House of Free Will.
Oh, nice. And a PMA as well, for anyone watching, is a private membership association. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. Private membership association in the private domain. compared to the public.
Yeah.
Those words have been badly abused. Like, people don't know what private means. We think privacy means calling yourself, what is this guy on Telegram just called himself from your group, silly baby, right? Like, that's some kind of privacy that he has from me that I don't know his name. Is like, dude, you're hiding from me, but you're not hiding from the beast for sure. That you
Yeah.
can be tracked. They know who you are. And so they think that's privacy, but it's not. And so it's about free exchange among the members. It's about any kind of conflict that would come up potentially, which I don't really see happening much, but it's handled by tribunal. People in the agreement to my PMA say that they're agreeing they're never going to sue anybody in the ministry. They're not going to sue me. Everything's going to be handled internally like adults, and we'll make our way. And we can make it up as we go along. There's no set codified structure. If a tribunal is just like one person having a conversation with one person, fine. If it needs 12 people and a kind of like jury of some kind or something, then all of that will take place. In the extreme case, say something extremely bad happened, that's when the public can start to have jurisdiction. Right? If someone got badly hurt or taken or whatever, I can't even imagine what that would be. And that's when we've handed over our lives to the public to handle every little dispute for us.
Yeah.
And this is taking that back in a really self-responsible way. So,
that's what court is, right? It's like the mum and dad or the teacher when two kids are playing, fighting in a sandpit, and they walk up and they go, "No, you get the truck." It's like that's literally what court is, right?
Exactly. They work it out.
Yeah.
The Bible says, settle your matters before you go to court, because they're going to smash you in court. Beware.
Exactly. Yeah. So like we can act, it's acting like adults, isn't it? Taking self-responsibility. That's all that this is.
That's it. And as much self-responsibility as you take, that's how much power you get. Right. I have a course called Primal Power that is exactly about that. You're giving your power away as long as you think it's some like evil entity out there and you got to destroy the beast and you turn into the beast trying to destroy the beast. And that's not freedom at all. You're locked into a war, even though there is time for rebel energy and there's time for warrior energy. It's very necessary, even if just to train and have the confidence in yourself. Like, I never, ever want to go to court. But if I have enough knowledge that I'm not afraid of that, I probably won't have to go to court.
Exactly. It's like self-defense. Right? It's like when you can defend yourself, you don't go out looking for fights and you don't get into fights because people sense that about you. It's just like, oh, because you're not worried about it. You'll be fine, right? You've got the information inside to know that you are free and that you can make your own choices, and whatever you do is fine, really. I mean, this another big, it's fear, right? I mean, fear is the biggest dream killer, and literally when it's false evidence appearing real, that's that statement there kill, because that's what slavery is. You think all these things have merit or they have power over you when they don't. It's just false.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's really you're giving your authority over to your unconscious, and it's saying basically, you're gonna die like this on your shoulder all day long. And then you're like, oh, okay, I better keep on, let that thing push me around. And when you flip it, it's amazing. So that's the whole theme of the work that I'm doing in my PMA, to help people deprogram, to heal, to train coaches to be in that role, because I don't want to be the only one. I want this to be a legacy project where many, many more people potentially could be in that role of helping other people that way. As I mentioned, my law work is going to go into the private. I'm doing workshops already. We've done 3 workshops, two and one about to come up. Came up all of a sudden with its own life. This is the thing about the private domain, is that when you give a little bit of time and effort to it, it grows organically.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah. I'm in the middle of starting a business at the moment, so I definitely need to get this information, I think. So
yeah.
And also anyone who's out there who's maybe looking for a new direction, a new career path or whatever, or you're there's a lot of kids, right, that are sort of 17, 18, 19, all their dreams have been dashed, not sure what they're doing. So yeah, if this kind of appeals to you, there'll be links below. Go check it out. Because we're going to need this information, right? This is how we build the new earth. All this new information of freedom and empowerment is, we've actually got to go forward and build this new earth. It's not just going to, appear in front of us and say, well, yeah, you made a few videos, so here's your new earth. We've got to build it. So this is a perfect way to get started.
Yeah, it's immensely creative, and compared to, say, my more business life, because I'm doing the same work that I did in my business as I am doing in this PMA. But the difference is that, well, I mean, what is the difference? Not a huge difference, because I was already so much in that private mode. But yeah, what's the difference? What was I even going to say there? I don't know. I think I've lost my train of thought. What you were just saying.
No worries.
Um,
I don't even know what I was saying.
Sorry, it's getting late. All right, yeah, between the two of us, it's
No,
okay.
no worries.
Oh
No
shoot, it
worries.
was good too. Yeah, all right, I'll remember after we're done, I'm sure, and I'll
Yeah,
send you.
exactly right. You'll send me a
Yeah.
message. I was going to say this. Um, but yeah, basically, I mean, and you're very busy at the moment. Well done. So all Beth's links will be below, guys. Go check it out. And this is a thing, right? We need to support these new world businesses and people. As Owen Benjamin says, if you don't support what you love, it'll go away. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
And I remembered what I was going to say, if it's okay, just to save face there. So when you're in business, because we're in slave society, you have a bottom line, right? If you don't meet your financial needs, then you don't have a business. You can't do your work. Can't pay your bills, all of that kind of thing. And so it's a real shift out of that mindset into, my PMA is a ministry, right? And it's faith based. And the primary goal of it is not to earn a living. That is God given. This is a paradigm shift, but to support the membership. And in doing so, in supporting the membership, this PMA is going to look after me. I've already seen much evidence for that. I have a lot of faith. And, so instead of charging for work, it's often donation based or subscription based. Instead of outright hiring people to help me, it's by stipend and apprenticeships. And then the primary difference between the business and that private domain is the service, right? That it is to fill a need that exists that otherwise might go unmet, especially because who you are authentically, no one else could do that work in the way that you do it. Maybe they could do similar things, but they could never, with your lived experience and everything that you've been through. And so you shift from that model of like, got to make a living, which, admittedly, I had to make a living for a lot of years already. Since I survived cancer, I had to be totally self-sufficient. Then I had a child and I was a single mom. Totally had to, look after now, not just myself, but that flip to, okay, how can I serve? And this is now how I wake up every day and fold my hands and say, God, okay, how can I serve today? Just show me. And this is, if we circle right back to the ultimate theme of today, that is freedom, right? When you're working for others and it naturally gives the abundance back because that's favored by God. So it's a really beautiful thing. If people are interested to apply to join the ministry, you can visit. It's the freewillministry.live. I know that you should say .live, but I like the live part. It's also the same as bethmartens.com, which is with an ENS. And there's an application there with some questions. We can start to get to know each other. And I'll have, just so you know, my assistant is the one who's going to respond to you because I can't keep up with it fast enough on my own sometimes, depending on what's going on. But I do read every word of every application. They fill my heart so much when I learn about these people with beautiful intentions and, gifts to offer and interest in their own expansion and becoming great. And I remembered one more thing that I have to say before we come off this show.
Yeah.
And just about this is completely unrelated. It just came to me, but the name of your show, Spiral Up, is so related to the work that I do. I teach a process called spiraling.
Oh wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and this you could say is an overall theme of finding the order in nature and following it. because it has a certain pattern. And especially when it comes to the emotional realm, which is a major block for most people, right? Whatever it is, where it with high emotion, low emotion, wherever you get stuck, then the process of spiraling is something where you start to play with this emotional realm and travel it at will. We don't think we can do that, right? We think, oh, the depression, it just came over me from out of the blue, and now it has me, and I just have to wait it out and see when it goes away, or take drugs, or all of that kind of thing. But as it turns out, we have just so much more freedom to play in God's creation and God's order than you could ever imagine. So when I was watching your channel today, I'm like, hey, we're right on the same theme there.
Oh, good, good. Yeah. Well, they try and tell us it's a circle, right? And we're just supposed to go round and round and round, but just got to change your thinking a little bit, get off track a little bit, and you'll start to spiral. Just make sure it's an up, not a down. Yeah, so there you go. That's probably a very good place to end. So thank you so much for your time, Beth. I might have to do this again in a few weeks, or I might have to get a bit deeper, maybe on the law kind of stuff. Of course, like I said, all of Beth's links will be below, so go check them out, especially if you're interested in learning a bit more about sovereignty, freedom, how you can actually live that and act that way, and share it, right? Maybe it might be a new career path as well. So lots and lots of goodies will be in the links below. So thank you for your time, Beth. It's been really, really good.
My great honor and pleasure. I was so excited when you emailed me. Woo!
Awesome, great. And make sure you check out our interviews on Beth's channel as well, and give her a like and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. So thanks for joining us, guys. Hope you enjoyed that one. Thank you, Beth. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload.